Welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, if you're listening to us, there's a good chance you work for government. Now, the latest workforce numbers from Statistics Canada tell us that 1 in 4 Canadians work for the government in some way, shape, or form. And that's not all when it comes to government jobs, and now specifically for Canadian government jobs. Parliamentary Budget Officer has released its latest numbers on the cost of federal employees in Canada. Last year, the government spent $76.3 billion for its employees, represented an increase of 6% from the year prior. And right now in this country, total compensation for federal employees is now 83% higher than the Canadian average. Is that a good thing for Canada's economy? Maybe it's a bad thing. Let's try and find out. Lucy Hargreaves is with us, CEO of Build Canada, on the line. Lucy, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Elias. Great to be here.
Let's break down the number. I said 83% higher, but I just want, for our listeners' sake here, for them to know what we're talking about here. So the compensation for a federal employee now averages $143,000 a year. The Canadian average for all jobs is $78,000, right? Those are the accurate numbers?
Yeah, and actually today StatsCan put out new numbers on average wages across the economy, which show that number is $68,000 for Canadian wages across the economy. So slightly lower than what you're quoting there.
Wow.
But even if we add 20% onto those base wages to account for benefits to make the numbers more comparable, that's still a 75% gap.
Okay, so it's a 75% gap. Tell our listeners what that means for the economy, for Canada's growth, when there is such a gap between regular people incomes and government job incomes. What are the consequences?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem. So we have a situation now in Canada where the economy that is funding the public service is barely growing. So it grew, average wages in the economy last year grew at just 1.9%. So those wages are barely growing while federal public service compensation is compounding at nearly triple that rate. So that's not good for the stability of the economy, for the growth of the economy. And it's also just not good for Canadians to look at that discrepancy and scratch their heads wondering, where are the services? What services are we getting for these rates?
Now, is the government aware of this? Are they trying to fix this? And Mark Carney's been prime minister now for almost a year here, and he promised a whole bunch of changes. Is there movement on their front? Do they see this as the same type of issue that you see it?
I think there's signals that they see it as an issue. I think it is difficult to rapidly change direction of a very slow-moving ship. The federal government has committed to cutting back the size of the public service over the next year to 18 months. And I think that's a very good thing. Unfortunately, with the wage discrepancy that we see, even when you cut the size of the public service in terms of headcount, you're still going to feel those compounding effects of higher wages for many, many years to come. And
should we be taking into account as well provincial government jobs, municipal government jobs, just how much of our economy and wages and people's salaries rely on one form of government or another?
Yeah, I mean, like you said in your intro, I think the stat is about 1 in 4 Canadian jobs are related in some way to public service employment. So it's a significant portion of the economy.
But is it abnormal? Like most countries, do you find the same thing, or does Canada stand out on that front?
It's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to that, but I think any kind of strong, healthy, growing economy needs a real diversity of employment.
And what does it mean for the private sector here? When those numbers are as they are, when there's such a gap, what does it in turn? What are the consequences for the private sector and their efforts to hire good people?
Yeah, I mean it's a challenge, right? I mean, hiring talent and finding talented people across the economy is always a challenge for the private sector. and the public sector, when you have a public sector that is offering significantly higher wages and significantly higher benefits than what private sector employees can offer, that's not really a fair playing field for many private sector employers. And so that can have some negative impacts as you're looking for talent and trying to attract talent.
You know, I'm thinking about a pal of mine who works in the arts, and he had 2 job offers on the table. One was from a crown corporation that deals with the arts. I won't name it, but the salary that was being offered was 35% more than the salary offer he was getting in the private sector for a similar gig. You can imagine what choice you're going to make when that's the case, right?
Right.
So I wonder how that affects things long term. Lucy, at Build Canada, how do we fix it? How are you trying to build Canada here and right this ship? You say it's slow to move around, but so how do we fix it?
Yeah, I mean, look, this isn't a partisan issue. At Build Canada, we're nonpartisan, and this issue has built up across multiple governments. I think the question is who's going to treat it seriously. Our perspective at Build Canada is that countries that are serious about growth don't let their cost base drift this far from the economy that's actually funding it. So let's not forget that the public sector salaries across the board, not just at the federal level, are funded by taxpayers across Canada. And every year that we wait to fix this, the compounding gets harder to address and has a significant cost. So we're focused on shifting from a culture of process, getting folks to focus on a culture of delivery, and focusing on execution so that we can have excellent public services at a lower cost.
Lucy, I know you Build Canada, you hosted a debate on Monday, and the title was, "Is Canada Spending Too Much?" What was the result of that debate?
So mixed perspectives in the room. I think both of our guests made excellent remarks defending their position. We did sway some folks in the room from a perspective of thinking Canada wasn't spending too much to one where they were spending too much at the end. So really rigorous debate. I mean, this is not an easy topic to wrap your head around. It's very complex and nuanced. And, I think the thing that your listeners need to understand and focus on is that at the end of the day, we have to have a budget that is manageable, that we have to have a public service that is delivering excellent services to Canadians, and we have to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible so that future generations don't get stuck with the bill. We're
with Lucy Hargreaves, the CEO of Build Canada. Lucy, before I let you go, and I know you've been tweeting about this, that story in the Globe and Mail from last week about how Alabama is now richer, wealthier than Canada. Yesterday on this program, we actually spoke to the Montrealer that the Globe had in their story, the guy that had moved 30 years ago to Alabama and never came back. What's your 2 cents on that subject? I know you've been vocal about it on Twitter. What's your 2 cents when you see that stark headline and find out that Canada has fallen behind places like Alabama?
It's a wake-up call. It's not a wake-up call for people like me because I spend my days talking about this and thinking about it. But for average Canadians, it is a wake-up call that we have let our economy slide into decline. And we're now at a point where we're in a crisis, and an imminent crisis at that, and we need to get serious about taking the actions that we need to take to fix that. I think the interesting thing about the Alabama comparison was that in that Globe article, the author was talking about how Alabama over the course of 30 years has done deliberate things to make their economy more competitive, to open it up to competition, to make their economy friendly for businesses, whether that's on corporate taxes or deregulation. And in the same 30 years, Canada has written a lot of reports about what it will take to make our economy more competitive, but it hasn't taken action.
Oh, man, when you put it that way, huh? Action versus let's do another report. I certainly hope there's more action here, Lucy, and I hope there's less advertising. And even though it'll hurt my radio station, I'm tiring of every time I load up this audio stream, it's a Government of Canada ad that says we're going to build, instead of just building. So
we got to focus on execution and results.
Totally. Lucy, be well. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Elias.
Lucy Hargreaves is the CEO of Build Canada.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.